Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to my home. It's my great pleasure as President of Dublin City University, which, as you know, is Ireland's premier university, to welcome you all to the Helix. And I do hope that you're going to have a very pleasant evening. I hope that you will be challenged by what you hear and that you will at no point during the evening be bored. It's, as I say, a great event for us to be able to host this here. I hope that many of you who are not regular visitors to DCU will come back often, that friendships will be made here tonight. My wish is also that the participants in the debate will all enjoy themselves very much and that the best person will win. There is unfortunately no participant from DCU, but that's to make it easier for everyone else. But it is, as I say, a great pleasure to welcome you all here. So enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Good evening to you all. As convener of the Irish Times debate in this particularly special year for the competition, I'm delighted to welcome you to Ferdinand's home, to Dublin City University tonight. It's a pleasure to see so many of you to come and watch what will be a memorable occasion for the 12 participants this evening. Presently, we will commence. There are just a few minor matters of housekeeping to be dealt with first. The 12 participants tonight are competing to win either the Irish Times Debate Demosthenes Trophy for the winning team or the Christina Murphy Memorial Trophy for the winning individual. That decision will be made by a panel of 5 adjudicators who I will introduce to you now. The presiding adjudicator is Geraldine Kennedy, the editor of the Irish Times. Also on the panel, Professor Brent Northup, who is a professor of communications at Carroll College, Montana, and has for the past 10 years convened the Champions Tour of the United States, which is the prize that awaits the 3 winners from this evening's grand final. This is the 11th Irish Times final that Brent is adjudicating. Charles Lycett was a winner of the Irish Times debate in 1960, first year of the competition ever. He was also one of the very few Irish people to become president of the Cambridge Union, which he did as a graduate student at Christ's. And in today's Irish Times, he was described by Mr. Justice Adrian Hardiman as a towering figure, which is very appropriate and suitable also given his position on the panel tonight. Leo Mulrooney is a more recent winner of the competition. He won in 2003 for the Literary and Historical Society, University College Dublin. He also convened the competition in 2006. And the final member of the adjudication panel tonight is Michael Moriarty. He was a member of the only team from our host university ever to win this competition. He did so in this very auditorium in 2004, and he convened the competition in 2007. They are, ladies and gentlemen, your adjudication panel tonight. We're very grateful to Dublin City University and in particular to the Debating Society at this university for hosting us this evening. The timekeeper tonight is the auditor of the society, that is Mr. John Stone. And to explain the procedure, John will sound a gavel after a first minute of the speaker's speech, which will indicate that for the next 5 minutes they can accept points of information from speakers on the opposing side. After 6 minutes, he will sound the gavel again to indicate that no further points of information may be offered. And at 7 minutes, he will sound the gavel to indicate that the speakers should conclude their remarks. We are deeply fortunate tonight to have an extremely distinguished guest chairman, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize in 1998 and the first Minister of Northern Ireland. To chair proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, a rapturous reception for the Right Honourable David Trimble.
Ladies and gentlemen, the motion before the House is that this House believes that Ireland owes a debt of gratitude to Fianna Fáil 1926 to 2010. And to speak first in proposition of that motion, I call on Neil O'Higgins.
Lord Trimble, esteemed adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honour and a privilege for me to open this 50th final of the Irish Times debating competition and to do so on behalf of the Honourable Society of the King's Inns. That Ireland owes Fianna Fáil 1926 to 2010 a debt of gratitude. Well, there are a number of ways which we could go about framing this debate. We could attempt to compile a ledger upon which our side of the House would enumerate all the good decisions that Fianna Fáil have made, and the other side would list all the bad ones, and we would probably win that debate. We could argue that Fianna Fáil is the party of virtuous statesmen, while the other side would attempt to characterise them as a party of corrupt miscreants. We would argue that Fianna Fáil has harnessed and tapped the resources of the nation for the benefit of everybody. And the opposition would probably retort that the only thing Fianna Fáil have tapped have been the phone conversations of certain members of our esteemed adjudication panel. Now, Shane and I will argue that the essence of this debate runs much deeper than any accounting ledger. What we're being asked to do is to evaluate an 84-year-old movement and its relationship with the people that have consistently re-elected it. And in this regard, myself and Shane have two main points to bring to the debate tonight. Firstly, that Fianna Fáil has an organic connection with the Irish people that has allowed it to govern in a consensual and pragmatic manner. And secondly, that Fianna Fáil has used this unique connection to define our nationhood and have set a course of prosperity, peace and partnership. So let's look at the relationship between Fianna Fáil and Ireland. Well, since Fianna Fáil's establishment in the La Scala Theatre in 1926, it has always defined itself by the closeness of its relationship with the Irish people, not by any abstract ideology or credo, not a left-wing party, not a right-wing party. Just the yardstick of the cultural, social, no thank you, and economic gains it could provide for all the people of Ireland in a centrist and pragmatic fashion. No thank you. And by defining itself in such broad terms, Fianna Fáil has been able to become a broad church, encompassing support from all strata of Irish society. No thanks. It is at once the party of De Valera and the party of Lamass, of the rural farmer and of the urban industrialist, of the barrister and the breakfast roll man. And I'll take you in on that.
Merely pandering as what was actually happening, because we're in economic stasis from the years of 1945 to from 1932 to 1947.
Yes, we would describe it as pandering, and we would describe it as pandering to every single person in the Irish state, and that's what the essence of a centrist party is, and that's why Fianna Fáil have been able to govern in a consensual and pragmatic fashion. So this is the broad and diverse support that Fianna Fáil has, and that's cemented by its grassroots organisation. It boasts having a common in every town, parish and constituency, and through this, the pulse of the nation courses through the veins of the Fianna Fáil party mechanism. And it is because Fianna Fáil pander to everybody that they have been in power for 57 of their 84 years. And why is this important? Well, by trying to appease everybody, Fianna Fáil has avoided the factionalism of other countries. It is because of Fianna Fáil that we don't have Democrats and Republicans, Tories and Conservatives. We don't live in a country where one section of society becomes entirely disaffected and forgotten, no thank you, when the other party comes to power. Look at Margaret Thatcher when she came to power in England. Look at how disaffected the working classes of Northern England became. Look at the social strife. Look at that and be grateful that Fianna Fáil has made an effort to appeal to everybody. No, thank you. And of course, people come and criticise Fianna Fáil for the closeness of its ties to its constituents. But that, we say, is the very reason that it can govern effectively, and for that we owe a debt of gratitude. Yes, no thank you, the pariahs of today, the bankers and the developers, have enjoyed the favour of Fianna Fáil governments. But so too have the trade unions, so too have the elderly, so too have ordinary workers, farmers, and artists, and so forth. And it is because Fianna Fáil has gone out and chosen to seek support from every aspect of Irish society that it has been able, that it has not been held hostage or ransom to any one of them. I mean, contrast the position that our Finance Minister, Brian Lenihan, finds himself in and with that of his Greek counterpart. His Greek counterpart is a member of a left-wing party enthralled to trade unions and paralysed by a fear of alienating his one support base. No, thank you. And so for this reason, Fianna Fáil is able to make the cuts. It has the political capital to do so. And this isn't the first time that Fianna Fáil has been called to the assistance of the nation. Back in when Ray McSharry was Minister for Finance, he earned himself the nickname Mac the Knife for slashing public spending at the same time when a Fine Gael government, no thank you, collapsed for its inability to impose a tax on children's shoes. And the relationship between Fianna Fáil and people goes beyond effective quotidian government. And this is the broader conception that Fianna Fáil defines us as a nation. It transcends simple policy making and sets the march of this nation. And look where that has taken us. Witness the 1937 Constitution, framed at a time when European democracies were falling like ninepins. Witness Articles 2 and 3 of that self-same Constitution, which, introduced by Fianna Fáil, was changed by Fianna Fáil under the political dispensation of the Good Friday Agreement. Witness Ireland's neutrality, a position adopted by Fianna Fáil and now a bedrock of now a national touchstone. Witness our accession to the EU, which required a comprehensive re-evaluation of what independence and sovereignty was. Could any other party have had the closeness of ties with everybody in Irish society to effect those changes? Could the Labour Party have redefined our sovereignty? Could Fine Gael have had the Republican credentials to engage with all elements of the Northern Ireland peace process while in government and in opposition? We say they haven't. We say that Fianna Fáil has done the state some service. We know it, no more of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. And to speak first for the opposition, I call on Ian Hastings from the LNH. Ian.
Classic. Excuse me. Lord Trimble, honourable adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great honour to stand before you and represent the Literary and Historical Society of University College Dublin. To owe a debt of gratitude to your leaders is to know that they have acted with responsibility, to know that they have acted with vision, and to know that they have acted with courage. But fundamentally, it is to know that they have acted in our best interests, always. Fianna Fáil are the antithesis of this formulation. Fianna Fáil stand for everything and they stand for nothing. The proposition has proudly proclaimed that this is some kind of boon. We actually disagree. They were a vacuous, passionless entity that has throughout their inception only been concerned with power. This satisfaction with power can be seen in the emptiness of their policy, the reactionary nature of their policy, their populist policy. But it's actually more damaging than that. So obsessed were they with power that they have done everything they can to engineer the political consciousness of this island to keep them in power by focusing on a parochial, local mentality and vitiating any sense of national consciousness. This has corrupted our idea of a nation. The propositions that says that they are tied to the nation. It is this very fact that myself and Conor feel such a debt of ingratitude to Fianna Fáil. And sure, I think it would be scandalous to say that they haven't had some success, but this success was still based on the populist reactionary policies that were never designed in our best interest. They were only designed to get us to vote for them. And we say that the fact that they have been in power for so long is exactly an example of how corrupted the Irish political system is because of Fianna Fáil. No thank you. Myself and Conor are going to be talking about two things. I'm going to be talking about the absence of courage on the part of Fianna Fáil and how that has fundamentally damaged the state. And secondly, I'm going to be talking about the damage of parochial politics that they have inflicted upon this nation. So let's look at this first point, the absence of moral courage. Because what we see here, since its inception, was a fetishization of changelessness. They wanted Ireland to be static. Dev saw himself as Ireland. Dev wanted Ireland to be a pastoral, agricultural nation where the maidens would till the fields and everyone would get along in a nice parochial setting. They did everything they possibly could to make sure that this remained the status quo. There has never been more militancy towards modernism in this part of the world. For 16 years, from 1932 to 1947, what they did was, in essence, prevent any kind of intellectual discourse, any kind of economic discourse to happen in Ireland. And we saw a complete absence of policy. They saw economic talk as a free radical, something that prevented their control. When they isolated people, they could make sure that parochial politics were entrenched, and seeing as this was an easy matter to deal with, they came on that. No, thank you. It was only when their failures boiled over, and this is a pattern that has been developing Fianna Fáil ever since, only when their failures have boiled over that they were buoyed into change, with the coalition government entering into power in 1947. But then they got straight back in. And Lemass, he did some good. But to say that we owe a debt of gratitude to Lemass, an admittedly great man, for cleaning up the mess that Fianna Fáil made for 16 years in power is a nonsense. The fact of the matter is that they were criminally indecisive. And to say that Lemass fixed it for a short time, even though that mess will be scuffled, and I will take Mr. Cranley in a second, to say that that should be scuffled simply because they wrecked it afterwards is ridiculous. Go ahead.
This 16 years you talk about, they kept us from communism, kept us from fascism, and gave us a constitution that made the people sovereign. That is gratitude.
Every other country in Europe managed to keep themselves from communism and fascism except the Eastern Bloc that was already taken. But the fact of the matter is France, England, pretty much everybody else, Japan pretty effectively stopped themselves from communism. They grew at a ridiculous rate. Just to say that simply now all that rampant poverty is totally cool because communism wasn't involved is ridiculous. But this kept on going. Haughey had no policy. Lynch had no policy. As well as this, they were criminally indifferent to the North for a ridiculous amount of time. No, thank you. And Haughey was so obsessed with power that all he engaged in was corruption. He dictated to the country that we are living beyond our means, while he himself was indulging to a ridiculous and frankly perverse degree. But again, their policies boiled over, and again we had a change of heart. But this change of heart, while we reaped some success of it, they were ticked over by coalition governments and then by another coalition government that had Fianna Fáil not involved at all. But how did Fianna Fáil get back into power? By appealing to the populist-based notions of lowering tax and spending public money when you're in massive growth, which you should never do because it means you run out of money, as we did in 2008. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is power without purpose, and for this reason, we believe they are wrong. But the second point I want to look at is something far more dangerous, because their obsession with power has done something that might be irreparable to the Irish political consciousness. They were obsessed with parochial local politics. They've effectively circumvented the entire idea of local